Good morning, beautiful people. I'm Chris from the Landlord Training Institute. We help property owners manage their properties themselves without the stress of tenants and toilets. This week's video is all about how to target specific tenant profiles. Let's get to it. So as the years go on, you're going to find that you work best for this certain type of tenant, a certain profile. That might be seniors, it might be students, it might be young families, but you're going to find there's going to be a group that fits your system best. In this video, I'm going to narrow it down to young families. Okay, so no matter what group we're talking about, you need to spend some serious time understanding how they exist in your city. You need to understand them before you can target them with your market. Now, this means you need to know how they spend their time and how they spend their money. Think of it this way. You want to combine what they spend their money on, so maybe like their bank statement from a typical month or two, and what their Google Calendar looks like. The combination of those two things will tell you exactly what their priorities are. So I'm going to suggest that you spend a couple hours, maybe even a few hours, sitting down and recreating a Monday to Friday time frame, as well as a weekend time frame for that demographic. You're going to want to jot down some notes and some points, some key things that they do in a day or in a weekend. Once you've done that, you are going to have an incredibly powerful starting point for which to market to them. After you've got that done, we've got to take a look at how to put that information to use. So the first question you want to ask yourself is, when are they doing these things? So these different things that they do throughout a day, you need to put an approximate timestamp on those. So I mentioned in this video, we're going to be talking about young families. So that's what we're going to do right now. Now, this will not cover every young family, but for a lot of them, they're going to have two people working about a 9 to 5 job. That's probably going to be a Monday to Friday job. And so we're going to start with that. So let's walk through a typical day for a 9 to 5 employee. I'm going to assume that the type of tenant, the 9 to 5 young family tenant that we're targeting with this, is going to be one that's a little bit more on the responsible side. So they're probably arriving to work about 20, maybe even 30 minutes early. So the typical employee, when they arrive to work 20 minutes early, is probably going to spend a few minutes grabbing a coffee before they head to their desk. They might say a good morning or two, maybe a quick chat with one of their coworkers. They're going to spend about 5 minutes on that stuff. After that, they're logging into their email. That's just the way that it goes. Now, as I said, for a lot of people, that's going to be a dreaded activity. They're going to get through 3 or 4, maybe 5 of those emails, and then they're going to get distracted. That's your chance. So right around 8:45, you want to be the first thing they see if they start to look for a place to rent. How do you do that? Well, right around that time this enters their brain, you want to make sure you're on page 1 of that platform that you're posting on. So whatever it is, Zillow or Facebook Marketplace or something like that, you want to make sure you're the first thing they see. If you don't get in front of them by that 9 a.m. point where they actually start to work, and you are waiting until that noon or maybe morning coffee break point, if that platform that you're posting on allows any cross-posting, all of the big property management firms are going to post and bury your ad. So that's our Monday to Friday strategy for this young family that we're targeting. If they're 9 to 5 workers, we want our ad to be on page 1 at about 8:40, maybe 8:45 at the latest, so that they see it before they actually get to work. Okay, so that covers the week. So what does a weekend look like for a young family? If we assume they've got a couple kids, which may or may not be your target, but if that's our target, you can assume those kids are in a ridiculous amount of activities all weekend long, and it's just absolute chaos. So there's not a whole lot of point in trying to nail down that chaos or sort of target within that chaos, because it will be so sporadic. It'll be brief moments in time where they might be able to actually look for a place when they're at the rink or at the ball game or maybe the dance recital or something like that. No parent is going to feel worse than if they missed the big moment because they were shopping online. So trying to plan around this chaos or optimize within that chaos, those sort of regular hours during the day where that happens, it's just a fool's errand. Don't even try. However, much like weekdays, there's going to be that point later on in the day where, depending on the age of the kids, the kids are in bed and mom and dad get some alone time. That's when you want to target them on a weekend. So depending on the age of the kids, that alone time after they've gone to bed gets a little bit later and later. So you want to think about, are you targeting parents with maybe kids that aren't even in school yet? Or are these kids maybe, in elementary school Or if they're junior high and later, honestly, I would just make sure you're posting and it's available for about 8 p.m. or 8:30 p.m. Nobody hangs out with their kids in the evening anymore. So again, if you're targeting parents with very young kids, think toddlers, you're probably trying to get in front of them between 7:30, maybe 8 p.m. at the very latest. And then as they get older, you push that time frame back a little bit. If they're teenagers, wait till the dishwasher's filled. They're going to be doing homework or else off causing trouble or whatever teenagers do these days. Next up, you want to think about how they're searching. So if you think about it, after the kids are in bed, especially if they're of the younger varieties, a lot of parents are going to spend some time on the Netflix and chill. And so where does that happen? That's obviously going to be in a room with a TV. Generally speaking, no parents are going to bed at 7 p.m. So you're probably looking at the living room. Now, if you're sitting in front of the TV in the living room, are you going to be taking your laptop and setting it there to actually search? Or are you more likely to use your phone? Chances are most parents are actually just using their phone. It's going to be in their hand anyways, or very close by. It's easier. They're used to touching it 1,000 times a day. You want to target that. Now, there are a lot of peer-reviewed studies that suggest the vast majority of people who are searching for things like this are doing it via mobile. So let's focus there. I want you to think for a moment, though, about the platform you're posting on. So if it's something like Zillow or Facebook Marketplace, whatever it may be, I need you to consider, does the mobile platform suck or is it actually really good? If the answer isn't, it's really good, you probably shouldn't even be posting there. Seriously, just dump that platform because you're going to end up being like the final employee at Blockbuster, clinging to the DVDs, hoping that somebody will actually show up. It's just not going to happen. Now, if you're new here, you've missed some good content on how to design your headline for your ad. You can grab that by going over to landlordtraininginstitute.com/generator, and that'll get you fixed up. Essentially, in your headline, you want to start talking directly to your tenant profile. So for young families, that might read something like, hey, are you having trouble finding a place that you can genuinely call home for you and your family? Click here. Now, if you're on the email list, I've also shared with you how you can start screening in your headline. And this one's going to be an example of that. That headline that I just said will start screening out people who are not young families. It will end up getting a higher percentage of clicks for people that consider themselves a family, whatever that might be in their mind. They will click if they see that. However, if people are sitting there thinking they are not a family, they will be less likely to click. That might even be, keep in mind, people define that differently. That might be somebody who is in the first year of their relationship with their significant other and they're thinking of moving in together, but they might not consider themselves a family yet. The moment you can get their brain saying, yeah, that's me, they will click. However, if they don't say that, they're less likely to click. Okay, so I've got to address one point that some people will be frustrated with as we go here. Certain platforms, like Zillow, don't actually allow a headline. So what do? The answer to that is really simple. You start the body copy of your ad with what would be your headline. Your first sentence at the top of the ad would be what your headline is. Okay, so let's talk about how far in advance you should be posting your rental ad. For a young family, the super organized ones, they are probably shopping about 7 weeks out, maybe even 8 weeks out. Now that doesn't mean that you need to be showing your place 7 or 8 weeks out. You can gather a few different applications, a few different interested parties that are pre-screened, and you can start showing your place probably about 6 weeks out. But first, I'm going to remind you, if this is making sense to you, if you feel like it's helping you out in any way, go ahead, hit the subscribe button, click the bell so you get notified every single time we do one of these videos. There are probably some guidelines, some legislation with respect to notice to vacate that they are going to want to follow. Remember, we're talking about the more organized or maybe a little bit more desirable tenant. Quite often on a monthly lease, they're going to be required to give 1 month's notice. So the super organized people, I'm talking about the people whose calendar looks like grandma's quilt. It's so color-coded and organized. Those people are going to be shopping about 7 or 8 weeks out. But that doesn't mean you need to start showing the place 7 weeks out. If for some reason you've got your ad posted for a week and you can't get 8 pre-screened candidates, there is something wrong. You're going to go ahead and set up your pre-screening system. You're going to set up your booking system. You're going to set up your day of confirmation system. All of these things we'll be talking about in future videos. If, when you're showing your rental unit, you have more than a 5% no-show rate, so that's like 1 in 20 people don't show up when they've said they're going to, there's something wrong with your day of confirmation system. If more than 25% of the people who show up to see your place don't fit your ideal tenant profile, then you've got a pre-screening problem. You need to fix that. If for any reason more than half of the people that show up don't submit an application, you might need to fix your property, or else your marketing makes it sound a lot nicer than what it is. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up with some comments on fair housing, because some of you may be thinking that using words like family might be offside. Now, it is going to depend on how you use those words. If you say families only, that's offside. There's no two ways about that. You are going to get in trouble for that at some point. However, if you say, bring the kids, your kids are welcome, that's most likely okay. You need to consult somebody who's an expert on that for your area. If you start marketing to young families as, this is what your life is going to be like in this property, and it's things like, you know, the park for the kids is only half a block away, maybe the ball diamond is only a block and a half away, stuff like that, that is going to attract those folks without going offside of fair housing laws. Okay, so that's the basics of how to target a young family with your marketing. I'm Chris from the Landlord Training Institute. We help take the pain out of property management.